Hi everyone, my name is Brittany and welcome back to my channel. And today I'll be reading the Murderbot series.
It's Brittany, bitch.
There are only 6 books out currently, and the 7th one is supposed to be out later this year in November, I believe, called System Collapse. I have not yet read any of this series, yet I decided to attempt all of it all at once. So I really hope I like this series, and if I don't, and I decide to start DNFing these, then I'm just gonna obviously cancel reading the whole series. But since I really enjoy sci-fi, I think I'm actually gonna really enjoy these books, so I decided to get all of them on audio and attempt them over the next week or so. They're pretty short novellas, so it shouldn't be that hard for me to get to during work hours, but we'll see. So tomorrow I'm planning on finishing the first book in this Murderbot series, All Systems Red. I'm already 20% of the way into it, and it's not really what I was expecting. I just don't really know what I was expecting, but this is basically an introduction to this entire world, and I'm just figuring it out. We're following our Murderbot, who is basically a robot designed to look human, I believe, and they're supposed to be like murdering killing machines, but this one seems to kind of have an awkward relationship with humans and just likes watching TV. So I'm curious as to where this is gonna go, but so far I kind of just have no flipping clue, and I'm hoping to get more out of Murderbot's personality and kind of understand more of how they function. I'm also not 100% sure if it's showing as male or female, or if it's like non-binary. I'm not 100% sure. I thought it was a she, not sure. It's already been made pretty clear though that they don't have like genitals or like a sex. So I don't really understand that part yet, but I'm assuming that it may have a gender, but you never know. We could just call it Murderbot the whole time. I don't know, because I watched so many reviews about this years ago, so I actually totally forgot like what people said about it, which is kind of the glory of that. So if you decide to watch like spoiler videos and stuff, I do all the time. Like I watch spoilery reviews and then I totally forget about it, and a couple years later I read the book and I completely forgot what they said. So it actually works out perfectly. I supported them and watched their video, and I still had the same experience because I completely forgot whatever the fuck they even said from the first video. Anywho, I'm hoping to finish All Systems Red tomorrow and then give you my full update. I think I might just like read them and then give you an update unless something crazy happens, because they are pretty short. They're only a couple of hours of listening, so I just feel like it might be more productive that way in terms of also editing all this together. So that's my plan. I will talk to you tomorrow. So I ended up finishing the first and the second in the series. So let's start with All Systems Red. So I listened to this and I'm gonna give it 3 stars. I just feel like for the first in the series, I was expecting a whole lot more. And if I read this before the rest of the series had come out, I would not have continued on with the series. I would have read the first one and never really kind of looked back. But since there are others in this series, I'm deciding to continue on. I rolled right from the first one into the second one, and I enjoyed the second one a lot more. But let's talk about the first. So Murderbot is a sentient security unit that is basically sent out by these security companies in order to like protect the human inhabitants. And specifically this mission is a bunch of people who are out there exploring a planet. They're doing planetary research and they're not really like sure what they're going to run into. So that's what Murderbot is for. And Murderbot basically named itself after it has like a memory of slaughtering a whole bunch of miners a long time ago, and it named itself Murderbot. And the people on this journey are very kind towards Murderbot, and they're very understanding and include Murderbot as like kind of like a person of their team and more of like a human being, which I think definitely pulls on Murderbot's human traits. And Murderbot definitely does not really enjoy humans. They find it quite awkward. They just would much prefer to watch their serial TV shows, and that's it. But Murderbot has a job to do because there's something nefarious going on this planet. The other group of like expeditioners, basically they found out were murdered, and they're trying to figure out what actually happened. And Bot is trying to protect all the people in this group that they've really come to love and enjoy. So here's my qualm with this. I actually really like this at first because I really like being in Bot's mind. I really like thinking how they're thinking and seeing the world how they are. And I like that explanation of this world and how these like humanoid bots kind of work. And I really enjoyed that. But then I realized like the further I got into the story that I really shouldn't fucking care. I didn't care about the plot. I didn't care about the doctors on this research thing. I didn't care. I really want to see more of Murderbot's personality because that's all I fucking heard about for years is how funny they are. And I'm just not really seeing it. I think that's why this, as the first in the series, is a little surprising because I just feel like it should have opened with something else. Like the ending was obviously good and it leads into the rest of the books, but I'm not attached to Bot as a character. And so I just don't really understand why everybody loves them so much because I'm not really seeing the funny, quirky personality that I was expecting. I mean, of course there are a few sarcastic comments between here and there, but it's not like enough to like make a character for me. Obviously I continued on with the series, but again, if this was only the first book in the series and the rest of it hadn't come out yet, I definitely would not have picked it up. So, take that with what you will. Now on to Artificial Condition, which is the second novel in this series, and I actually really enjoyed. I'm gonna give this 4 stars. This gave me exactly what I was looking for from Bot. I really wanted to see more of their mind and how they think and how more of like this world works. So we get to see Bot basically transform into more of a human form, which is really cool. So Bot actually befriends this thing called Art, which is a giant like ship, like the mechanisms of a ship, like a ship bot. And they befriend this Art. And I love tech that talk to each other. I love tech that has personalities, you know what I mean? Like M-Bot in Skyward, for example. Like I love that kind of shit. So I think that's why I really enjoyed this one a lot, is because a lot of it is their banter back and forth. And they're both like not completely human, but they are sentient. So it's just really interesting to see their conversations and see them arguing about things. But Art basically helps Bot look more human, so it can basically bribe people to let them on the planet to find out more about like that slaughter of the miners a long time ago. So it's a really interesting premise of the whole book, and I liked it because so much of it was like banter back and forth between these two machines, and also like more about Bot and its feelings, and it's really wanting to go discover like what actually happened there and having to be more human because now it can't act like a security bot. It's pretending to be like augmented human. So like it pretends like it's human, but it has like a lot of like cyborg parts because it was in an accident or something. Really interesting premise. So Bot basically bribes people and pretends to be a security consultant to get onto the planet to really truly discover what happened. And in the process, we see this beautiful friendship form between Bot and Art. And it was just really funny. I feel like this is actually the personality that I was expecting to see, but I think a lot of that came from Art as well. But I actually got to see more of like that personality that people always like went on about. I feel like, again, though, as soon as it got too action-packed, I just kind of start like daydreaming when I'm listening to it. Like it doesn't keep my interest. I'm more interested in more of the day-to-day of Bot's life. And I feel like that it's the way for some books and some authors. Like some parts of people's books, I really enjoy the action bits and I'm very intrigued, and other people's writing just makes you want to like click off as soon as it gets too action packed and there's like a punch or a rip or whatever's happening. My brain's just like, whoop, don't care. I think that's also why I didn't like the first one so much, is I think it was very action packed and very like plot driven. And I think maybe with Martha Wells writing, I just don't like that. I just don't think it like connects for me or something. So I really enjoyed the second novel the best. I think it's the best one, obviously, so far. I didn't really enjoy the first one that much, but I am going to continue on with the series. However, here's the caveat. I have every other audiobook but the fucking third one, so I can't continue until I get the third one, which should be here the next 2 weeks. So I'm hoping that I'll get it in the next couple of days because I had the fourth one on hold and got that one within like 5 days. So I'm hoping that this one comes in a lot earlier because that's the one I need. And like, I don't want to stretch this out too far just because I also want to like keep it as fresh as possible. So I feel like sometimes it's better to go into it like pretty soon. And I've already read a couple books in between the second novel and the third novel now, so I'd really like to go ahead and get that third novel going. But I'm very excited for the third one because I still like sci-fi worlds and all that stuff, and I'm hoping that maybe Murderbot gets even more interesting because obviously the second one was interesting enough for me and I really liked it, but I'm just kind of curious like what the series is going to look like, because I feel like for the first novel it really wasn't interesting, and then for the second novel I got more of what I was looking for, so I was kind of curious as to like what each installment is going to hold for this. So I'm really hoping to get the third installment very soon. I am crossing my fingers it comes in the next few days, and then I'll give you guys an update as soon as I finally get to this dang book. Getting Rogue Protocol a lot earlier than I anticipated, which was great because I was very impatient and I decided to go onto Libby, and I realized that one of my libraries actually already had it. They had like 91 fucking copies, so I got it. And of course, being the novella it is, I finished it in like a day and a half. It technically took less than 3 hours to read, but I've been very busy with some meetings and I got some new plans assigned, yada yada. But I did end up reading this, and I think I'm gonna give this 3 stars. In this novel, Bot ends up going to a deserted terraforming facility called Milu, basically in hopes of catching catching this corporation Grey Chris in the act of like doing something illegal with like alien remnants, okay, and remains. So in order to clear Murderbot's name basically and have it stop being like investigated for being like a rogue sec unit, it wants to basically try to like frame Grey Chris for what they're actually doing. This is the corporation from the first novel, and I think that's my complaint, is actually this feels a lot like the first novel except for the addition of Mickey. So Mickey is this really fun, childlike, naive, human-loving robot who just like has a really big friendship with his humans and it just absolutely loves them. And Mickey's basically a foil for Murderbot, so it's the complete opposite of Murderbot in terms of like loving humans and having a different personality. And it basically shows Murderbot what Murderbot could have been if it had not been like raised as a sec unit and treated as such. I thought that was a really interesting component. I think it's cool to show that Murderbot is kind of like learning its own humanity, and that's one of the reasons why it's just, this basically shows Murderbot taking on its trauma from its past and growing as a Murderbot does, and just realizing that things could have been a lot different if its life had been different, and also just realizing the differences between it and Mickey. Mickey is hands down a robot I would die for. Like, I would dead ass die for that bitch, and I'm a ride or die for Mickey. That's all I'm gonna say. But again, I'm still like not really in love with Murderbot. I mean, I'm definitely gonna continue on in the series because I'm kind of curious where it's gonna go, but so far this kind of seems like we're rehashing the first novel with an extra fun character that I enjoyed, so not anything really different. Murderbot's also still trying to like clear Dr. Mensa's name, Dr. Mensa from the first book, who's technically Murderbot's like legal owner. They're trying to like basically clear their name because they're being associated with Grey Chris, and that's obviously not true. So I mean, Murderbot is obviously like a good bot. It's like trying to become a better version of itself, but I'm still just not really in love with Murderbot. And I'm hoping that as I continue on, that'll like change, but I'm already halfway through the series right now, and I'm not feeling the love. I mean, they're not bad books, but I just am not super interested in them. But I feel like I've come this far, and they're really quick novellas, so like even if I don't love it, it's only like 2 hours of my day, and like I might as well like just give it a shot. So anyway, I'm going to enjoy this weekend, and then I'm going to probably start Exit Strategy on Monday, and then give you guys my full report. So I'll talk to you guys after I finish Exit Strategy. All right, so I finally got to Exit Strategy and finish this bitch. And I think I'm gonna give this one 3 stars. I just feel like at this point, we're rehashing the exact same fucking plot from all the books. Now that I'm over the halfway point, I'm just kind of feeling that this is really redundant and it's a little overdone. And I really want this to be about something else. Like, I'm not opposed to Murderbot as a character. It's just like, can we please put Murderbot in different scenarios? Like, I'm so tired of something happening to someone that Murderbot cares about and then going to have to rescue them and caring about humanity. Yawn. Like, I just feel like I'm over this. Like, I'm done. Like, we've done this plot 4 times now. Please pick something else. Rescue missions are really just not my thing. I don't find it that fucking interesting when it happens every single fucking book from the same characters. Like, I don't care. So it's getting 3 stars out of me. I feel like there's something to even really talk about at this point, other than in this book, Murderbot reunites with Dr. Mensa from the first book, and we're finally like back with Dr. Mensa, who is technically Bot's legal owner, and Bot obviously cares a lot for Dr. Mensa because she's the first person who's ever treated Bot like a person. Basically, Dr. Mensa is rescued by Bot because Grey Chris kidnaps her, and Bot goes out to rescue Dr. Mensa after all of her colleagues have like failed to get her. What a concept. I just feel like I'm a little bored at this point. I'm definitely gonna continue on, but I'm not happy with it. And these books aren't worth like 1 or 2 stars. They're not like bad books. I think that they're well written and like done well. I just am tired of like the same plot. And I think if you're really attached to Bot, then you probably wouldn't care, right? Like, we'd read the most like garbage shit books with them in it because we don't care, because we just like the character so much, but I'm not attached to any characters in this. So I don't understand like the appeal. But anyway, I did move on to Network Strategy, which is the 5th book, but we've come to a bit of a hurdle. Did I call it Network Effect? Is that what I called it? Anyway, this fucking book I thought was another novella because the rest of the series are novellas. They're pretty short and they're easy to get through. This is actually a fucking full-ass book. So I started the audiobook this morning and I was like, oh, I can finish it today. So I can hopefully report to you the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th all at the same time. Like, that was my plan, to like do 4 yesterday, which I finished, and then 5 and 6 today, and finish it out and be like, I'm fucking done. No, it's a 13-hour audiobook, which I was not expecting, because you think I would have fucking looked at that, but I just fucking didn't, because I'm dumb and I didn't fucking look. So I'm only like 30% of the way into this new book now, and it sucks because I was planning on finishing this honestly today because I have another audiobook I want to read tomorrow, and I have a lot of plans for the end of the month. Like, I really try to fit things into a monthly basis because I don't like books going over months. Like, it just bothers me a lot, so I try to wrap everything up, and I only have a couple days left. Like, I'm just pissed. It's really throwing off my fucking schedule. This book is 13 hours long. I was wondering why it wasn't making any sense. I was like, why am I like only 5% in? Why am I only 10% in? Like, I didn't connect till I was like 20% of the way into the book. And then I was like, I wonder how long this book is. And I looked it the fuck up, and it's only at 30% because it's so fucking long. It's only like 350 pages, but I think just the narration depends on the narrator, right? This one's 13 hours. It's just a lot longer than I was anticipating. I'm just salty because I obviously didn't pay attention. Like, I'm dumb. Like, I didn't pay attention that this book was longer. And now I'm mad. I'm mad. And I don't want to pick it up because I'm mad. I'm like angry at this book, even though it's not this book's fault. I'm mad at myself, but I'm taking it out on the book because I didn't know. So I'm salty. I'm salty. I'm marinated at this point. I'm literally so salty. I've been marinating all day in this, waiting to tell you guys. So anyway, I will get to Network Effect probably tomorrow. I'm literally just gonna get up early and probably just log on for work early and just try to get all 3 of those books I was planning on reading in the next 2 days done in one day, because I want to be done with them now. I'm extremely done with this series, but I'm crazy and I thought, let me just read another one for this fucking series. So I realized that there's actually a 4.5 book called Home, and this is like a 19-page book that I actually found from my library today, and I was like, you know what? I'm reading the whole series. Let me just read this. It's really short. It'll count as a book. Why not? If I'm still in the same universe, because I think once I'm done with this universe, I'm gonna take a fucking break. And if I eventually want to read the 7th one, I'm not against it. I'm not gonna go out of my way to like read it. I'm not gonna like make a reading vlog about it, I don't think, and like give a shit. I just feel like the series as a whole is fine. I think if you really enjoy sci-fi, you can get more out of it. But I love sci-fi. I just feel like it's redundant. It's a little boring. It's not something I haven't seen before, and I don't really care enough about the characters to like continue on in the process that much more, even though I'm reading all of them. So, okay. So anywho, I'm going to try to read Home, Network Effect, and then the 6th book all in the next day. I don't know how I'm gonna do that, but I'm really gonna try because I just feel like I'm too determined not to at this point. So even though I don't like love this series, I'm a determined ass bitch. I will get what I want, and that's to finish this fucking series. So I will talk to you tomorrow. Okay, so it's actually been quite a few days, and I did end up finishing all 3 of them though. So that's a plus. Let's start off with Home, which is a 19-page short story. It is 4.5. It is the story in between 4 and 5. Surprise. And this book did not need to be written. I really don't understand the relevance of it other than the fact that it is written from Dr. Mensah's perspective of what happened after the events in the 4th book leading into the 5th. It was nice. It was easy. It was short. I gave it 2 stars. Now let's talk about number 5, Network Effect. And this is the full-length novel that I did not realize was a full-length novel. So that alone was a point against it. And it could have not worked against it if this had actually been full of stuff that like actually made sense for the narrative. I just feel like these stories are getting so fucking old. I have no idea how I even finished the series because I wanted to DNF this one so bad just because it was so long, and I feel like nothing was like happening that was different. It wasn't furthering along like Murderbot in any way, shape, or form. I mean, I feel like this was like a good installment if you like this series, but nothing special happened. I'm so tired of Murderbot going on these missions and rescuing people and blowing shit up. Like, I really just don't care. It feels like an action film over and over and over, and I'm tired of it. And this one felt like a very dense sci-fi. Like, a lot of this stuff was, there's a lot of like world building that I just feel like was went over my head. I didn't care about it, but I think a big part of that is also, I don't care about any of these characters. I don't think Murderbot's for me. I don't think this series is for me. And all I really know is Murderbot and Dr. Mensah and a couple of Dr. Mensah's crew, which I will like remember by name when I'm reading, but otherwise I can't name a single person. Something about the series just doesn't work for me. I don't really understand what it is, but I think at this point I'm, how many fucking books in, and I'm just tired of it. Like, I just feel like nothing new is happening. Like, can we go to some crazy planet where everything is different or something? Like, everything is the same sci-fi universe that I already don't care about. And I don't really care about Murderbot all that much. And then in this book, Murderbot is just like swearing up a storm, which is fine, but it felt really weird, and it just didn't really feel like it fit Murderbot. You know what I mean? Like, every single 5 seconds it said fuck or fucker, and I was like, can you think of a different swear word? I mean, I love fuck. That's a great word. I swear all the time. But like, it didn't feel like a natural progression. Like, it saw it being used by like someone cool in a TV show and like wanted to like emulate that person. You know what I mean? And I just feel like there's no character development in this one. I feel like in terms of how long it is, I just feel like nothing interesting happened. I'm gonna give this one also 2 stars, and I just kind of don't fucking care. Like, I almost DNF'd it a couple of times because number one, I was frustrated by how lengthy it was and we weren't getting anywhere. Like, I did not feel like this needed to be a full-length novel. This could have definitely been more than novellas. and it could have been done a lot better. And lastly, I just don't think I really care for Murderbot in general. 2 stars out of me. Then thank God, on to the last one, Fugitive Telemetry, which is the 6th book, which I also lovingly gave 1.5 stars to. I don't remember this book half the time. I don't remember this book really at all. In this book, I know there was a murder mystery. Basically, this was a murder mystery taken away from like the main plot of like Murderbot. That was it. Could not give 2 shits. Didn't really care. I mean, it was like wrapped up cool and everything, but I couldn't care less. I think this kind of solidifies I don't care. I actually don't even know if I'd read the 7th one at this point. I really just don't think I care enough about the series, and I obviously have not really enjoyed any of them. The only one I kind of enjoyed was the 2nd one, because that one had art in it and it was very character driven and there wasn't a whole lot of like pew pew pew. And I actually feel like I got to know Murderbot a little bit more as like a bot, and I got to know art, and I really got to like know their personalities a little bit more, and I like enjoyed it. Like it was a fine thing to listen to. But every other book has just been kind of a slog to get through, and these are short books except for Network Effect, which is the devil. So all in all, I'm pretty disappointed because I was really expecting this to be like an amazing series for me. I really went into this thinking I was going to like it. I was like, maybe the first one just wasn't like my jam. It's not my thing. I don't think Murderbot is my thing. Maybe if someone's like, oh my God, this is like amazing, I might continue on. It's a shame because I like the covers. I like the ideas. I love Murderbot, like the idea of Murderbot. I just feel like this is not it for me. As a sci-fi bitch, I'm just very upset about this whole thing and how it hasn't really panned out for me the way I was expecting it to. But I did at least read technically 7 books, and I guess I should not be continuing on with the rest of the series, potentially. I don't know. It's still on the plate, I guess, but I'm not really like gonna go out of my way to read it. So we'll see what happens. Anywho, it's been a very long day, and I will talk to you guys all again very, very soon. Please let me know your opinions of this series if you've liked it. I'm very sorry if I've offended anybody, but I just don't think it was for me. And please suggest another sci-fi series down below. Anyway, have a wonderful rest of your day. Talk to you guys all very soon.